Suparna ma'am.
It's okay, Vikas ji, we can wait for a minute. I think वो लोग process कर रहे हैं अभी, start
Yes,
कर
yes,
रहे हैं.
yes.
Meanwhile, मुझे start करना चाहिए like with
Yes, yes,
if you
yes,
allow
Megha ji.
me.
Megha ji, yes, can you can start, Megha
Sure,
ji.
yeah, yeah. Thank you, thank you. So finally, I got the assent. So a very good evening, everybody. On behalf of myself, Megha Kumar, research scholar at Department of History, HNB Garhwal University, Uttarakhand, and on behalf of Indian Research Scholars Association, I would like to welcome all of you in the platform. Today, we are here with a topic which is titled Plagiarism, Ethical Consideration in Research and Publication. We have with us Dr. Suparna Bhattacharjee. She's assistant professor in political science department of Northeast Hill University, Shillong, Meghalaya. And within a second, she will be there to address us. Before addressing, I would like to give a brief introduction of ma'am. Ma'am has done MA, MPhil, PhD in GNU PhD from GNU itself, field studies in WTO and in UN office in Geneva, Switzerland. The area of interest ma'am holds is international political theory, Eastern Asian politics, maritime security, transboundary water issues, international organization. Ma'am has specialization in international political economy and trade. Ma'am also holds so many awards like she has hold ICSSR Doctoral Fellowship Award, Netherlands Government Fellowship Program Award. Ma'am has many publications. She has done many book reviews, presented many papers in national seminars, and chaired technical session as well. So with this, I would like to call ma'am. If ma'am, can you hear us? With a short, brief introduction, I think this suffice.
Am I audible?
If yeah, ma'am, you are audible. So the stage is all yours, ma'am.
अरे मेघा
A
जी
very
को
warm
वेलकम
welcome
स्पीच
to
के लिए तो
you.
बुलाया है.
मैंने
Thank you
बुलाया
so
मैम को
much.
वेलकम स्पीच के लिए विकास जी
Okay,
सॉरी मैम बिफोर
if ma'am,
मैम
if
विकास जी
Suparna ma'am is ready to deliver your lecture, so I think the welcome speech is not necessary. So, ma'am, if you are ready, so you
Yeah,
can start, ma'am.
yeah. My slides are visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
yes ma'am
Slides
it
are
is
visible, right? PPT slides are visible, right?
Which one?
yes ma'am
Okay,
visible
okay, okay. So let me first.
Not to everyone, ma'am. Can you please just recheck? It's not visible to some of the students or some of the scholars.
So it's a network
Okay,
problem,
okay. I'll
Ashwini
stop
ji.
with. I'll share with everyone. Okay, so let me first, thank you, the Indian Research Scholar Association, for giving me a scope to have some deliberation with you on a very important topic, I think, which is very important for all of us, whether we are teachers or we are students or research scholars. So thank you. I think her name is Megha for a wonderful introduction. Though I don't think I deserve that. Anyways, I'm just one of you. So let me begin with my topic. Actually, I'll focus primarily on plagiarism, which is the central focus of today's talk. But let me tell you that plagiarism is one part of actually the ethical consideration in research and publication. But why I'm focusing so much of attention on plagiarism is that because of the mandate of UGC and because it's a very important aspects of research methodology. So, how I have organized my uh, talk, um, I'll first discuss the concept of plagiarism, the various types, the significance of the concept in research methodology, and the factors or causes that have contributed towards the act of plagiarism, and ways to deal with the acts of plagiarism. Now, let's begin with understanding the concept. Okay, so basically, plagiarism is regarded an act of academic theft. So, and it goes against the ethical consideration in research. Now, why it is regarded as a theft? If it is an act of theft, who are committing the theft and how these acts of thefts are being committed, right? So let's first try to understand the concept of plagiarism, the definition of plagiarism. Uh, Plagiarism is a wrongful act of taking the product of another person's as one's own. This is a book which has been written by Linley, and she has worked a lot on plagiarism. The title of the book is Plagiarism and Originality. She, by profession, is a lawyer, and her area of research is plagiarism in literary field. So she has focused on the act of plagiarism as a lawyer from the legal point of view, and also she has in detail discussions on the various forms of plagiarism. So how this is her definition, that plagiarism is a wrongful act of taking the product of another person's as one's own. Now, when we focus on the term product, what does the term implies? The term implies that it can be any literary work, it can be a thesis, it can be a research publication in the form of a journal or a book chapter, it can be a tune of music, it can be any act of creative work. Now, how we commit plagiarism, right? So, when we copy another's work or we borrow someone else's ideas without acknowledging the original source, then we commit plagiarism. So, here the focus is on acknowledgement. See, none of us are born genius. Majority of us are not genius. We get inspired by looking at someone's work, going through someone's work, and then that helps us to develop or conceive ideas. Now, while developing such ideas on the basis of someone else's work, what we need to do is that it's a very simple act. We need to acknowledge the original source, which we always fail to do. And when we fail to do, then we are committing an act of plagiarism. Now, Merriam-Webster Dictionary has given certain ideas what constitute plagiarism. If we follow their definition, what we understand is that when we steal and pass off the ideas or words of another as one's own, then we are committing an act of plagiarism. When we use someone else's work without giving due credit to that person, then also we are committing an act of plagiarism. To commit literary theft, why this phrase literary theft is if you read articles and books on plagiarism, you will come across this phrase is literary theft, because the plagiarism was much more discussed in the literary field initially than in other domains of knowledge. Okay, so when we present someone's ideas by changing little bit here and there, and we present as if it is a new idea and the idea is of mine, then we are committing plagiarism. So if we follow this definition, then broadly we come across the various forms. Now, in the literature dealing with plagiarism, you will come across terms like salon plagiarism, mosaic plagiarism, slice plagiarism. Those are very fancy terms. Instead of those fancy terms, let us try to understand the concept of plagiarism from a very simple point of presentation. Plagiarism can take a form of paraphrasing. Paraphrasing implies when we change certain words of a paragraph of someone else has written a paragraph. Say, if someone of you are working on, say, India-China relations, okay, and you have borrowed say paragraph from the book written by Dalvi. Now what do? You change certain words, you change the sentence construction without changing the meaning of that paragraph, and it is posed as if it is a new creation. Then we are committing paraphrasing. Copying, because of internet nowadays, it has become very easy to control. You are aware of these two buttons, control and paste, and control, copy and paste, so we can copy easily from available resources. Writing word for word exact, what is known as verbatim lifting, that is also a form of plagiarism. Direct lifting, when we lift, say, a paragraph or a sentence, and we fail to use the inverted comma, then it is an example of direct lifting. Borrowing ideas, even if we borrow ideas from others, we are liable to mention the original source of these ideas. If we do not do that, that means we are committing an act of plagiarism. Now let's see, these are in detail. Now plagiarism can be intentional or it can be unintentional. It can be intentional when we do plagiarism or we commit an act of plagiarism fully knowing well that we are committing an act of plagiarism, but still we resort to plagiarism. Unintentional, many a times we see that. Just a second. Many a times we see that students or even research scholars, when they are at the initial stage of their research, they are not very much aware of this concept of plagiarism. So therefore, without knowing fully well what actually results, what actually do we mean by plagiarism, then it's unintentional. Now, regarding this unintentional plagiarism, there is a whole debate, and that debate particularly originated in United States of America because of the fact that many of the faculty members, particularly from the social science background and humanities, they reported that majority of the students coming from China, they resort to this
थोड़ा सा हिंदी में स्टूडेंट मैम
unfair
थोड़ा सा
means,
कर सकती
I
हैं
mean they commit
क्योंकि वो रिप्लाई
plagiarism.
करती है
Now that created a whole lot of debate.
Excuse me, ma'am, and I also request to. Can I have this like liberty to like interrupt you? See, ma'am, some of the our scholar are from the Hindi background, or they are like. Can we just go with the some of the Hindi word if you like are comfortable?
Hindi will be a bit difficult for me because I'm not, I mean, I can speak in Hindi, but then giving a lecture in Hindi will be very difficult.
Okay, ma'am. ठीक है, कोई नहीं.
Um, so many of the faculty members from, particularly from the United States of America, they, argued that students who primarily come from the developing countries and particularly from China, they commit this kind of, an act of plagiarism. Now, this created a linkage between culture and plagiarism. That means it was presented before us as if some students coming from a particular cultural background, they are more they are more used to do this kind of
इसके साइड में
plagiarism.
रहना
Whereas some faculty members, they argued that in China and all, there is no concept of individual ownership. Now here we now come across two very important words: individual ownership. Why individual ownership has become so important, these two terms? Because you have to understand that the movement against plagiarism primarily started in the West. Okay, now in West there is the Western culture is based on individualism. So therefore, there is a belief that if you are if you have discovered something very new, if you have written an excellent piece of article, this is the individual property. So as a writer, you possess an absolute right over your own work, over your own creativity. So therefore, when we talk about plagiarism, we have to understand that the concept of individual ownership, the concept of intellectual property are very much intertwined with the concept of plagiarism. So when we lift someone ideas without giving any credit to that person, or when we steal someone's writings without acknowledging, what we are doing, we are stealing. हम चोरी कर रहे हैं किसी की आइडियाज को, हम चोरी कर रहे हैं किसी की क्रिएशंस को. जब हम क्रेडिट नहीं देते हैं, जब हम एक्नॉलेज नहीं करते हैं, इसका मतलब क्या है? हम चोरी कर रहे हैं किसी की आइडियाज को. क्योंकि जिन्होंने एक न्यू पीस ऑफ आर्टिकल लिखा है, ये तो उनकी ब्रेन की उपज है. सो दिस इज एन इंटेलेक्चुअल प्रॉपर्टी ऑफ दैट पर्सन. हाउ कैन यू टेक समवन्स प्रॉपर्टी विदाउट प्रॉपर कंसेप्ट? आज आपके पास बहुत बढ़िया मोबाइल है, बहुत बढ़िया गाड़ी है, कोई बिना बताए आपके मोबाइल उठा के ले जाए और गाड़ी की चाबी लेके गाड़ी चला के चले जाए, हाउ विल यू फील? आपको कैसा लगेगा? क्योंकि वो आपका अपना प्रॉपर्टी है. यू हैव एन इमोशनल अटैचमेंट टू योर मोबाइल और टू योर कार. आपकी एक इमोशनल अटैचमेंट है. कोई बिन बता के लेके चले जाए, सो यू विल फील absolutely hurt and devastated. Same thing is applicable in the academic field. So we have no right to take someone's ideas or someone's creation without making a proper acknowledgement. This is the central point of the
जी
concept of plagiarism.
जी
कभी कभी हम किसी की
हाँ हाँ हाँ
रिटन पीस से अपने ही रिटन पीस में उठा के ले लेते हैं और हम
हाँ हाँ
कोटेशन मार्क पुट
हाँ
नहीं
हाँ
करते हैं. That is an example of committing an act of plagiarism.
तो मुझे नया बनाना
Now,
पड़ेगा.
those who are arguing that there is a
तो
cultural
बाकी पिछले मंथ के
linkage,
तो
उनका
अपडेट
कहना ये था कि
इसी मंथ पड़ेगा
चाइनीज
केवल.
स्टूडेंट्स इतने प्लेगरिज्म क्यों करते हैं, क्योंकि
हाँ तो
उनके
अगर ये
कल्चर
वाला
में
पूरा हो तो कर दीजिए,
इंडिविजुअल
नहीं तो फिर अगला
ओनरशिप
वाला
का
फिर मैं
कंसेप्ट
नया
है
वाला
ही नहीं.
कल लाऊंगा.
एवरीथिंग इज कम्युनिटी बेस्ड, कम्युनिटी ओनरशिप. तो
मंडे के
उनको
दिन आता
दिमाग
हूँ
में
तो
ये
आप
आता ही नहीं है कि हम
है ना
किसी का
भैया.
चीज यूज कर रहे हैं तो हमको वो क्रेडिट देना चाहिए.
हाँ
So this kind of debate is very much there as far as the concept of
तो मैं
plagiarism is
मंडे के दिन आता हूँ
concerned.
भैया.
लेकिन बहुत सारे ऑथर्स हैं
भैया
जैसे
अभी हम
ल्यू,
मीटिंग में हूँ, आपको
विगल, पार्कर
मीट
एंड
होगा
मार्टिन.
4 से 5 मीटिंग
They
होगी
have
हमारी.
strongly opposed that, or they have
6
expressed
बजे आए थे.
reservation against this kind of
1 बजे आए थे.
linking culture and plagiarism. इनके कहने की
मैं आपसे
मतलब
ले
ये
लूंगा,
है,
आपसे
तात्पर्य
नोट
ये
मैं
है कि basically we do not have understanding
तो
and
सर
knowledge
खुशी
of
है
plagiarism,
और
and that's why we
इसके
commit
अलावा
plagiarism. So
एक संतोषी हो गई, एक मैं हो गया.
this is one
अभी
part of
और
the discussions on plagiarism.
हाँ
So how we can avoid
संजीव
plagiarism?
संजीव है. हाँ
See,
दिसंबर.
ये तो स्वाभाविक है कि हम किसी ना किसी के वर्क से प्रभावित होते हैं, उसमें कोई दो राह नहीं है, लेकिन हमें सिर्फ एक्नॉलेज करना है, और एक्नॉलेज करने से हम छोटे नहीं हो जाते हैं. दिस इज द क्रक्स ऑफ प्लेगियरिज्म, दैट वी नीड टू एक्नॉलेज. सो कभी कभी हम क्या करते हैं कि जब हम पीपीटी भी बनाते हैं, सो हम आराम से इमेज उठा लेते हैं इंटरनेट से. दैट इज ऑल्सो एन एक्ट ऑफ प्लेगियरिज्म.
हेलो
आप जब YouTube पे जाओगे या इंटरनेट पे जाओगे, इफ यू टाइप क्रिएटिव कॉमन्स, रिमेंबर दिस टू वर्ड्स, क्रिएटिव कॉमन्स. क्रिएटिव कॉमन्स में जितने सारे इमेजेस हैं और जितने सारे छोटे छोटे लेक्चर्स हैं, वो आप कभी भी अपने स्लाइड्स में यूज कर सकते हैं, बिकॉज दैट इज अवेलेबल फॉर एकेडमिक पर्पस. अदर देन दैट, इफ यू डू हो सकता है आपको लीगल इम्प्लीकेशन फेस करना पड़े. नहीं हो नहीं सकता है, ये होता ही है. इनफैक्ट दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी में इफ यू जस्ट टाइप दैट हाउ अ फोटोकॉपी शॉप came under the legal scanner, because they were photocopying books and articles for students. And one of the publisher from abroad, किसी अब्रॉड के पब्लिशर ने इन पे लीगल केस कर दिया है कि इन्होंने प्लेगियरिज्म, ये फोटोकॉपी शॉप वाला प्लेगियरिज्म कर रहे हैं. However, with much debates and discussion, somehow it was made clear to them this was only for academic purpose. Even for academic purpose, when we do that, we have to acknowledge. So to be on the safer side, always look for materials that are available, images that are available in Creative Commons, because if you are using Creative Commons and you just mention the source, then you are not violating copyright acts. All those are legal implications. So when we make a video using footage from some others' videos, then also we are committing an act of plagiarism. So मुद्दा क्या है कि हमें acknowledge करना है. Now, even composing a piece of music, by borrowing tunes from others, also an act of plagiarism. Recently जब ओलंपिक हुआ था, शायद आप लोगों को याद है कि जब इजराइल देश की एंथम बज रहा था, तो बहुत लोगों ने डिस्कवर किया जो अनु मलिक का जो गाना है, मेरा देश मेरा मुल्क, दैट इज बेस्ड ऑन द इजराइल नेशनल एंथम. बट nowhere Anu Malik actually gave credit to the original source. He never ever mentioned that he actually borrowed the tunes from the national anthem of Israel. और इतने दिन हम लोगों को पता इसलिए नहीं चला कि बहुत कम प्लेयर है जो कि पोडियम तक जाते हैं. अगर आप पोडियम तक जाओगे तभी ना आपका देश का गाना बजे, आपकी नेशनल सॉन्ग बजेंगे, तभी ना पता चलेगा. सो एंड बॉलीवुड में आप देखोगे कि बहुत सारे मूवीज है, बहुत सारे सॉन्ग्स है जो are actually an act of plagiarism, but we do not pay attention to that. So रीमिक्सिंग ऑल्सो इज एन एक्ट ऑफ प्लेगरिज्म. बहुत सारे पुराने गाने को आप देखिएगा कि नए तरीके से पेश किया जा रहा है बाय रीमिक्सिंग दी यू नो the musical instruments and here and there. This is also an act of plagiarism. Never ever in life do that. You just need to give credit, or you need to acknowledge the original source. Now I'll show you an example of paraphrasing, how paraphrasing can also be an act of plagiarism. Now you see the first paragraph. There are two ways to become wealthy: to create wealth or to take wealth away from others. The former adds to society, the latter typically subtracts from it, or in the process of taking it away, destroyed. इसी को हम कैसे लिख सकते हैं विदाउट चेंजिंग द मीनिंग? क्रिएटिंग वेल्थ एड्स टू सोसाइटी, whereas taking away the wealth of others detracts from it and destroys wealth in the process. अब देखिए दोनों पैराग्राफ को मीनिंग इज द सेम. बेसिकली ये हम बात कर रहे हैं कि हम कैसे वेल्थ को बढ़ा सकते हैं. उसका दो तरीका है. तो दोनों ही पैराग्राफ का मीनिंग सेम है, लेकिन the first paragraph is the original one and the second one is a paraphrased one. So ये जो paraphrasing है, now internet पे there is a tool available, paraphrasing tool. So if you pick up an original paragraph and you upload it and then you use the paraphrasing tool and you ask them to paraphrase, they will do it without changing the meaning. Now the problem is that, now look at the first paragraph. If people, these also have taken from Creative Commons. Now if people do not know which is the original source, लोगों को तो यही लगेगा ना जो second paragraph है, that is the original one. हालांकि पहला पैराग्राफ ओरिजिनल है. तो इसका मतलब क्या है कि जिनका ये वर्क था, हम उनको क्रेडिट तो दे नहीं रहे हैं, हम उनको रेस्पेक्ट तो शो नहीं कर रहे हैं, हम उनको सम्मान नहीं दिखा रहे हैं. हाँ, उनके किए उनका लिखा हुआ चीज हम तोड़ मरोड़ के पेश कर रहे हैं और हम बोल रहे हैं कि हमारा अपना वर्क है. दिस इज a heinous crime and this goes against academic integrity or honesty. ये एकेडमिक सत्यता के खिलाफ है. सो हम लोग हर तरीके से कोशिश करें कि इसको अवॉइड किया जाए. Now let's try to understand why this act of plagiarism have become so rampant. Why UGC has taken such a strong step to prevent plagiarism. Lack of awareness. दैट मीन्स हम लोग का नॉलेज नहीं है कि प्लेगरिज्म क्या है, और ये हमको ना तो स्कूल में सिखाया जाता है ना तो कॉलेज में. अचानक जब हम हायर स्टडीज में आते हैं, रिसर्च करते हैं, तब शायद हम लोग को सुपरवाइजर बताते हैं कि ये ऐसा मत करिए, प्लेगरिज्म है. नाउ इफ ए स्टूडेंट डजंट हैव द अंडरस्टैंडिंग फ्रॉम द वेरी बिगिनिंग, हाउ ऑन अर्थ ही और शी विल गेट टू नो व्हाट इज प्लेगरिज्म. सेकेंड थिंग इज दैट lack of acknowledgement of citation. हम सोचते हैं कि किसी का वर्क उठा के हम ऐसे ही पोज करें कि हम ये अपना ही है, that means we'll become genius. We don't become genius because nowadays, because of internet, we can also detect whether you are committing an act of plagiarism or not. ये भी कहा जाता है कि all these factors are based on research. These are not my words. Various studies have been taken place in United States of America, and on that basis, these are the factors which have come to our light. So system of learning, ना तो स्कूल में सिखाया जाता है ना कॉलेज में सिखाया जाता है, बल्कि स्कूल और कॉलेज में यही बोला जाता है कि अब बस याद कर लो और वही कॉपी में लिखो, यू विल गेट ए गुड मार्क्स. कहीं पे भी ओरिजिनलिटी को रेस्पेक्ट नहीं किया जाता है. एक स्टूडेंट्स जो एकदम रट्टा मार के आते हैं, जो ओरिजिनली लिखते हैं, you will see the person who is learned it by heart and vomited it on the copy is getting good marks. Lack of ability. Just now you have mentioned that many of the participants are from Hindi background. I'm sorry, I didn't know it. If I knew it, I would not have accepted this. My problem is that my Hindi is not that good.
No,
Now,
no
the
problem,
lack of
ma'am. You
ability.
can proceed your lecture in English, no problem.
No. What I'm trying to tell you is that this lack of ability. क्या होता है कि स्टूडेंट्स जब नॉन इंग्लिश बैकग्राउंड से आते हैं अचानक हायर स्टडीज में एंड दे हैव टू राइट इन इंग्लिश, they come across this problem. If you do not have proficiency in the language, obviously you will depend on others. So this lack of ability also creates the scope from plagiarism. My only submission is that ठीक है, हम समझते हैं हम सबकी सब लैंग्वेज में उतना एफिशिएंसी नहीं है. अगर हम बोरो भी करते हैं, सिर्फ हमें क्या करना है कि एक्नॉलेज करना है, क्रेडिट देना है कि भाई ये हमारा आइडिया नहीं है, मैं इनसे मैंने ये आइडिया मैंने बोरो किया है, यही किताब है, यही जर्नल है जहाँ पे इसका ओरिजिनल सोर्स है. लैक ऑफ इंस्टीट्यूशनल सपोर्ट, जैसे मैंने कहा कि स्कूल कॉलेज में कभी भी हम लोगों को ये सिखाया नहीं जाता है. रिपोर्टिंग मैकेनिज्म. Many teachers, when even they come to know that the students are committing plagiarism, they do not try to train the students as far as the act of plagiarism is concerned. And that's why I thought that today I'll discuss on plagiarism. If somewhere my deliberation helps someone to understand the concept of plagiarism and helps that person to avoid plagiarism, I think I'll be a successful teacher. I keep on telling my students, and research scholars, that never ever commit plagiarism. So in fact, I did a small survey also within my university, research scholars and students, and out of my total respondents, 85% they didn't know about the concept of plagiarism till they came to attend research methodology class at the level of MA. And you'll be surprised to know that I actually fought hard to include plagiarism as a topic in research methodology some 9-10 years back when I just joined this profession, because I could understand that students, they do not have this awareness. So it, as part of the teaching profession, it's our duty to make people aware of the concept of plagiarism. Now plagiarism is regarded as academic dishonesty because it's a serious crime. Legally आपको punish किया जाएगा अगर आप if you resort to this kind of act. So now UGC has made university and journal editorial board powerful enough to reject your piece of article, your piece of write-up, your thesis, your dissertation, if these write-ups or theses or dissertations are found to be based on plagiarized work. So therefore, my honest request before you to avoid plagiarism. Now, we are talking about plagiarism in 2023, and UGC took the initiative to create awareness regarding plagiarism primarily from the year 2017. But actually, the first reported act of plagiarism we could find in the literature in 80 AD, when a Roman poet, his name was Martial, and he complained that his poem has been plagiarized by another person named as Fidentius. So what I'm trying to tell you is that this is a human tendency कि हम किसी की emergency, लेकिन जो पहले बहुत था अब बहुत ज्यादा हो गया है. So So the question arises why we are talking about plagiarism now if it is so old. The fact is that if, in United States of America, two association, one is known Modern Language Association and another is so
उदय
Modern
भानु
Language
को मैसेज आने
Association
लगा
is
सर्टिफिकेट के लिए।
primarily looks into the field of literature. Literature की फील्ड में जितने सारे काम होते हैं मॉडर्न लैंग्वेज एसोसिएशन उसका देखभाल करते हैं and they have come up with a style sheet which is known as MLA style sheet. So nowadays, the students and scholars and teachers, if they want to publish, if they want to submit their thesis coming from humanities and literature background, they have to follow a style sheet which has been developed by Modern Language Association, and this is called MLS style sheet. In social science also we have a style sheet that is called APA style sheet. मेरे पास समय नहीं है, otherwise I would have loved to discuss APA style sheet also. So APA style sheet is now followed by all standard journals. I understand majority of you are from research background, you are research scholars or students. So kindly follow, try to train yourself in following APA style sheet because all standard journals nowadays follow APA style sheet. And you can follow the 11th manual. Every year they publish a manual. So 6th manual, you can first see the 6th manual, then you can see the 11th manual. The latest one that was published by APA was just before the COVID, that is 2020. They have mentioned how you have to cite a book, how you have to cite a journal article, how you have to cite internet sources. The detailed discussion is there, and it's very very useful because when we fail to cite properly, that is also an act of plagiarism. हम intentionally proper citation करना भूल जाते हैं या unintentionally proper citation नहीं कर पाते हैं, इन दो ही मतलब plagiarism होता है. So therefore it's better to train ourselves with the APA style sheets. All standard journal nowadays follow APA style sheet. Now let's see UGC mandate. UGC has become very, very active in preventing plagiarism. Abroad, there was awareness, much more awareness regarding plagiarism. And वहाँ पे हाई स्कूल से ही टीचर लोग स्टूडेंट्स को सिखाते हैं कि आप कैसे प्लेगरिज्म अवॉइड कर सकते हो, बिकॉज दिस इज अ क्वेश्चन ऑफ इंटीग्रिटी, योर ऑनेस्टी. If you fail to follow the rules of avoiding plagiarism, that means you are showing academic dishonesty and academic, and you are showing that you lack in showing academic integrity. So UGC has declared zero tolerance policy on plagiarism. In 2017, again in 2018, UGC has come up with a huge brochure on academic integrity and prevention of plagiarism in higher educational institutions. These regulations have various chapters: the role of students, the role of teachers, the role of supervisors, the role of universities, which I am not discussing now. मैं सिर्फ ये discuss कर रही हूँ कि those of you who are working on your thesis, you must know that UGC has come up with a plagiarism checker, जो plagiarism check करते हैं, and that is called similarity check. आपकी वर्क कितना सिमिलर है दूसरों से, वो ये plagiarism checker दर्शाता है. पहले इसका नाम था उर्कुन, now this is called original. All the teachers have been given access to original. I have access to original. So when my research scholars, they complete their research work, I upload their work to see how much the work is showing similarity. So UGC का कहना है there are 3 levels. Level 1, if your work is 10% similar with other works. And when you upload your research work in original, it will show you the percentage of similarity and from which book, which journal you have taken those portions without giving credit. If you give credit, you will not be you will be safe. If you fail to give credit intentionally or unintentionally, you will be caught by the plagiarism checker. So agar up to 10% hai, you will be allowed to submit, no penalty, but your supervisor will ask you to bring down even that 10% below 10%. Usually, I ask my scholars not to cross the limit of 4%. Now, 4 and 3% you cannot avoid because what happens is that suppose you are working on Mahatma Gandhi, so you will also write Mahatma Gandhi was assassinated. I will also write Mahatma Gandhi was assassinated. Both the sentences are similar. It will show similarity. So therefore, up to 10% is allowed. But I'll tell you, even try to bring it below 10%. Why to take a risk? Level 2, if your work is within this 10% to 40%, the university will ask you, university, or if it is a editorial board of any journal or book, they will ask you to withdraw your write-up. um, they will give you 1 year, so you have to correct it and then you can resubmit it. That is possible. But in case of thesis submission, if the supervisor allows a scholar to submit a thesis with 10 to 40% plagiarism work, then there is a financial implication for the supervisor. The supervisor will not get the increments, and also he or she will not be allowed to supervise for 1 year, which is a disgrace for any supervisor. If it is level 3, if it is up to 60%, the scholars will never be allowed to submit the thesis. If it is a journal article, the editorial board will never allow you to submit the article. And if it is a thesis, the teacher will not be allowed to teach for 3 years, which is again a disgrace for a teacher. Now, so you have understood that how UGC has become so strict, in applying the concept of plagiarism. I don't know whether in your university a new course has been introduced. This is called RPE, Research Publication Ethics, and it is a school level paper. So school of social science student scholars will have to attend this course. Science backgrounds, those scholars coming from science background, the science will organize such a course, humanities will organize such a course, so that all the scholars will be in one place, and the teachers from that school, various departments, those who have understanding of the topic of how to publish and how to avoid plagiarism, they will teach that paper. And the paper is of teaching is of 30 hours duration. It has become mandatory. Our university has introduced it from this year. I do not know about other universities. Delhi University has made it compulsory. Some bigger universities have made it compulsory. It's a good course because it gives you an idea how to avoid plagiarism and how to publish in a care listed journal. Now, coming back to the concept of ethics, what is ethics? As I begin by saying that ethics is a very vast subject and plagiarism is one part of it. The another part of it deals with publication, another part deals with data collection, how you have to collect data. There is a ways and means to collect data. So the concept of appropriate and acceptable conduct in research at all stages actually constitute the concept of ethical consideration. Appropriate method and acceptable method. Remember these two words, all these create ethical consideration. the background of ethical consideration in social science research or any research, because I'm from social science background, so I'm using the term social science background. Now, this concept of publication ethics deals with two elements, prescription and prohibition. Prescription means आपको क्या करना है, prohibition means आपको क्या नहीं करना है. So prescriptions and prohibition. Now let's see what क्या आपको नहीं करना है. Fabrication, falsification means data manipulation. शायद आप किसी फील्ड में गए हैं, आपका रिसर्च वर्क के लिए आपको फील्ड में जाना है और आपको डेटा कुछ मिला और आप और शो करोगे कुछ और. दिस इज कॉल्ड फैब्रिकेशन और फॉल्सिफिकेशन ऑफ डेटा. साइंस में ये बहुत होता है आजकल, सोशल साइंस एंड ह्यूमैनिटीज में भी, पर्टिकुलरली इन सोशल साइंस में बहुत होने लगा है, क्योंकि हम बहुत सारा एम्पिरिकल रिसर्च करते हैं. जो डेटा है वही डेटा को आप इंटरप्रेट कीजिए, डेटा को छेड़छाड़ मत कीजिए, डेटा को ज्यादा दिखाने की कोई जरूरत नहीं है. अगर आप करते हो तो आप एथिकल कंसिडरेशन के अगेंस्ट में जा रहे हो. रिसाइकलिंग, व्हाट इज रिसाइकलिंग? रिसाइकलिंग मीन्स आपने एक आर्टिकल लिखा है, दोनों फ्रेंड मिलकर लिखा है ए एंड बी, एक जर्नल में वो पब्लिश हो गया, दूसरे जर्नल में आप जब पब्लिकेशन के लिए उसको भेज रहे हो, शायद आप टाइटल को थोड़ा चेंज कर दिया और जो दूसरा नाम था उसको पहले लिख दिया, जो पहला नाम था उसको दूसरे में डाल दिया और उसको पब्लिकेशंस के लिए भेज दिया. ये आजकल बहुत हो रहा है क्योंकि everybody needs a score, API score to get promotions. Now, in order to get promotions, rampant recyclings were going on. UGC has become very strict about preventing this kind of recycling. Once you have published somewhere a piece of article, you cannot publish the same article without mentioning that it was already published somewhere else. Even if you change the sequence of the authors, the names of the authors, even if you change the title of the article and publish somewhere, these are not allowed. So at any cost you have to avoid. Now आपको करना क्या है? To follow informed consent, to maintain data confidentiality, and to go for pre-publication access. Informed consent, data confidentiality, pre-publication access, ये तीनों जो है, these are related to methods of data collection. All of you need to collect data from field. Remember these three important aspects of data collection. Why these are important? These are important because in social science or humanities, we deal with human beings. Even in science, they need the help to conduct certain research by using the human beings. So we, the people, are the stakeholders. So therefore, जहाँ लोग involved है, उनके emotions involved है, उनके motives involved है, we have to be very, very careful in collecting data. So informed consent का मतलब क्या है? When you are going to the field, you are collecting data. आप अपने respondents को पूरी तरीके से बताओगे कि क्यों आप ये डेटा कलेक्ट कर रहे हो, ये डेटा का यूज क्या है, and you have to make it absolutely clear that आप उनका नाम कहीं पे भी नहीं लोगे. You can use code, you can use pseudonames, दूसरा कुछ नाम ओरिजिनल नाम से, बट ओरिजिनल आइडेंटिटी कहीं कभी भी सामने नहीं आना चाहिए when you are going to publish that article. That is called informed consent and maintaining confidentiality. It's very, very important. Now here is a catch. Sometimes we go to a field and we are working on a very sensitive issue. People may not like to give information. So at that time, what do? You have to be with them. You have to have patience with them. And you have to make them understand that these data are very, very important and you are collecting, but nowhere the life of the respondents will be at risk. Please allow me to take personal experience to share with you. One of my scholar was working on a very sensitive issue, that is women trafficking in a tea garden. The tea garden authority did not allow us to collect information. Now, what we did is that we understood that in that place, रात को 3 से एक बाजार बैठता है. It's a remote area. So we went there and we talked to them. We made it very clear that we will collect data in sitting in the bazaar, and that the authorities will never come to know who has supplied us the information. And in our research work, we have never used any name, but all the names are with us. So if someone challenges us, we can show, but no one will challenge us also, because this confidentiality is an accepted norm. So we have given them codes instead of name. See respondent number 1, respondent number 2, respondent number 32, like that. So you might across this problem, but then you have to find a solution. Now, what are the elements of publication ethics? The American Sociological Association has come across with 6 elements. First is maintain objectivity. That means as a researcher, you have to develop an objective overview. हो सकता है आप एक पर्टिकुलर कम्युनिटी से हो और आप अपने ही कम्युनिटी पर रिसर्च कर रहे हो, तो अगर कुछ चीज़ें ऐसी है जो कम्युनिटी के रिलेटेड है और ठीक नहीं है, ये नहीं कि आप उसको रिपोर्ट नहीं करोगे, बिकॉज यू आर एफिलिएटेड टू दैट कम्युनिटी, देन यू बिकम सब्जेक्टिव. Objectivity means you have to develop a value neutral concept. Second thing is that respect the subject's right to privacy and dignity. That is the confidentiality. You have to maintain the confidential informations from your respondents so that their life is at not risk. Protect the subject from personal harm. कभी कभी इंफॉर्मेशन इतना सेंसिटिव हो जाता है कि जो लोग इंफॉर्मेशन देते हैं शायद उसके लाइफ पे ही रिस्क आ जाता है. तो एज ए रिसर्चर यू हैव टू सी दैट ये नहीं हो. सो सीक इन्फॉर्म कंसेंट, विच आई हैव ऑलरेडी डिस्कस्ड. एक्नॉलेजमेंट, yes, you have to acknowledge the name of a person from whom you have got the inspiration. Acknowledgement and giving due credit is very important. Why it is important? As I have mentioned you, when you write something as an original work, this is your own creation, your own property. If someone takes it and without giving credit to you, that means ये चोरी हुआ. और समाज में वही लोगों का बहुत सम्मान है जो ओरिजिनल आइडियाज लेके आते हैं, जो डिस्कवर करते हैं, जो लिखते हैं. लेकिन अगर हम क्रेडिट नहीं देते हैं किसी को, दैट मीन्स उनका जो प्लेस था समाज में वो भी हम हटाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. वी शुड नेवर टेक रिजॉर्ट टू दैट काइंड ऑफ एक्शन. सो बेसिकली collection of data, publication ethics deals with informed consent, anonymity or confidentiality, acknowledgement, and pre-publication access. What is pre-publication access? Once your thesis is ready, then you have to show before publication the respondents that this is the way I'm going to publish it. उसमें लैंग्वेज का प्रॉब्लम आ जाता है, इंग्लिश में आपने लिखा है लेकिन आपके रेस्पोंडेंट्स को हिंदी समझ में आता है. यू हैव टू ट्रांसलेट इनटू हिंदी एंड यू हैव टू शो टू देम सो दैट देयर इज नो ऑब्जेक्शन फ्रॉम देयर साइड एंड दे डू नॉट फील थ्रेटन्ड. सो now why these concepts have become a part and parcel of research ethics? All these have actually came from साइंटिफिक रिसर्च और क्लिनिकल रिसर्च. इनमें 3 बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट हैं. न्यूरेमबर्ग ट्रायल, नाजी डॉक्टर्स ने जो एक्सपेरिमेंट्स किया था ज्यूज के ऊपर विदाउट टेकिंग देयर कंसेंट. यहाँ पे वही डिस्कस किया जा रहा है कि विदाउट टेकिंग द कंसेंट ऑफ द ज्यूज, the Nazi doctors experimented with medical and clinical research that was a crime against humanity. Tuskegee is a study on syphilis which continued for 40 years on black people of America, but they were never told that the original idea is to see how people get afflicted to syphilis disease. Here also consent was not taken. Similarly, Stanford trial experiment was a psychological experiment on students to see if they are given some positions in the society. A makeshift jail was created, a prison बनाया गया था, किसी को jailer बनाया गया था, किसी को convict, और देखने के लिए कि क्या impact होता है social role की. All these were done without taking the proper consent. So therefore, Helsinki Code was, devised to tell us that informed consent is very, very important for, which is related to ethics. So these are the, various elements of the Helsinki Code. Basically, these are related to clinical research in medical field, but we have borrowed the concept of informed consent, which is very, very important for us. So this is so what I'm trying to say is that an act of plagiarism actually results in generating a fake ownership. मैंने कुछ लिखा, आपने उससे चोरी करके लिख लिया, तो जो क्या है, आपने ओनरशिप ले लिया कि वो अपना है, लेकिन एक्चुअली वो मेरा है. तो it generates a fake ownership, and the real possessor of an intellectual property, आपका creation आपका intellectual property है. So the real possessor of an intellectual property lose the legitimate claim over his or her own creation. So the credit due to a genuine source is thus misrepresented. This is what Robillard, a very famous writer on plagiarism, has underlined by saying that the credit is lost. That means when we fail to give credit to the original sources. So therefore, my dear scholars and students, I'm very happy to discuss with you the plagiarism, because plagiarism is regarded as a sham. ये बहुत ही and is considered ethically and morally a wrong act. So with this, I'll stop. If you need to discuss anything, I'll be very happy. I hope this will help us to, as a stakeholders, to, pay respect to the concept of academic integrity and plagiarism. So thank you.
So, thank you, ma'am. As we all have listened the lecture of plagiarism, so after this lecture की इस सेंसिटिव लेक्चर को और इस सेंसिटिव टॉपिक को, जिसपे कि अकादमिक वर्ल्ड में एक छोटी सी चर्चा होती है, उसको मैम ने कितना ब्रॉड और कितना विस्तारित हम लोगों के समक्ष उन्होंने अपनी बातें रखी. एंड मैम हैज इंक्लूडेड every points and all significant points to related the plagiarism, and जो भी उसकी सार्थकता के लिए था, उन सभी पॉइंट्स को भी मैम ने इस पे इंक्लूड किया है. So some students has written your questions in comment box. So now session is open. You can ask your question to ma'am. You can discuss. Only you can discuss to related this topic. इधर उधर का अगर मैम अलाउ करती हैं तब आप पूछ सकते हैं, लेकिन आप इस टॉपिक के अंतर्गत if anybody have any doubt, so you can ask.
I think they have all become very tired,
No, it's not, ma'am. Actually, we love to listen you, ma'am, and I'm very happy that you accepted our invitation. And
हंसने जी
one of our questions.
ये
Yeah.
Like if for Hindi, if copy the
Uh, your voice was not clear. I couldn't follow the question. One point I forgot to include actually because of the paucity of the time. There are certain areas like traditional knowledge. How do we give acknowledgement? Because we do not know the actual sources. But from whoever we get to know anything, we have to mention the name of that person also, because for example, for some time I was working on traditional healing process. Now there is no original creator whom you can give credit, but there are certain practitioners, so I mentioned all of their names and whatever I got to know. This is one issue. The second thing is that, you see, plagiarism checkers are there to find out who are committing act of plagiarism. Now, so many languages are out of that plagiarism checkers, like Khasi languages, Hindi. I don't know how much have been uploaded. So that is a problem which UGC is discussing nowadays. That how all branches of the knowledge will be covered by the plagiarism checker, which is known as original. OURIGINAL. Initially, it was known as Urkun. Now it is, they have rephrased the term. It's called original. I don't know whether I could follow here because there was problem in network, so I couldn't follow actually your question properly. Anyone can repeat it. Vikashji, if you are able to listen to his question, can you just repeat it?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Asuniji want to ask that if I have listened the any literature in Hindi medium, and then I want to write my thesis in English, then we can quote that literature.
Okay, I understand what is his question, that he has gone through a say Hindi piece of write up, but he's writing on English. So how he's going to cite it? See, initially you have to translate the title of the piece of article in English. After doing that, you have to in Roman or in English alphabets, you have to mention the name of the journal. I just give you an example. There is a very good care listed journal. Nowadays, you have to publish in care listed journals. It's called English translation is heritage, but if you Sanskrit or Hindi, it's called Aitijya. So when we have to mention that, so we can say that the journal's name as the heritage in bracket. In English alphabets, we'll write the term Aitijya, and there we have to mention that these are from the vernacular mediums, whether it's Hindi or English or Bengali or Assamese. That way, we have to mention that. The main idea is that somehow to send the message to the readers that these are the original sources.
So, okay, thank you,
And
ma'am.
that's what I tell you, that if you just a second, if you go through this APA style sheet booklet, 6th edition or 11th edition, they have mentioned each and every aspect of citation, how you have to cite. That is a very important thing, and it's available in net. As a researcher, all of you should download it, and it will give you an idea how to cite properly. Because improper citation is also regarded as plagiarism. Yeah, please, Jay
So,
Prakash Dev. Yeah.
thank you, ma'am. So, Bhishma Datta want to ask something, and after
Yeah, sure,
Bhishma
sure.
Datta, Joy Prakash will be ask your question.
Yeah,
So,
sure,
Bhishma
sure.
Datta.
Most welcome.
जी जी सर। मैं ऑडिबल हूँ मैम?
हाँ हाँ बिल्कुल।
जी मैम, मेरा क्वेरी ये है कि अगर हम कहीं से किसी सोर्स से
भीष्मा
कोई
जी,
लाइन लिखते हो,
यदि आप अपना
जी
नाम
हम
और इंस्टीट्यूशन बता करके नाम क्वेश्चन पूछेंगे तो ज्यादा अच्छा रहेगा हम
जी
लोगों के लिए।
मेरा नाम भीषम दत्त है और मैं पीएचडी स्कॉलर हूँ बरेली यूनिवर्सिटी से।
अच्छा अच्छा
जी मैम, मेरी क्वेरी ये है कि अगर हम किसी सोर्स से कोई लाइन यूज करते हैं अपने टॉपिक में और वहां पे हम साइटेशन भी दे देते हैं, ये वहां से लिया गया है, तो सॉफ्टवेयर जो है मैडम, सॉफ्टवेयर जब चेक करेगा तो सिमिलरिटी में वो आएगा, सिमिलरिटी में वो दिखा देगा या नहीं दिखाएगा?
अगर आप क्रेडिट देते हो तो सिमिलरिटी चेक में नहीं आएगा। जहां पे आपने क्रेडिट नहीं दिया वहीं पे वो कैच कर लेगा कि अरे आपने जो लिखा है ये तो सिमिलर है विद अदर्स। सिमिलरिटी चेक मींस both the works are similar. It's difficult to find out who is the original, which is the original one. Of course, plagiarism checker will find out which is the original one. अगर आपने क्रेडिट प्रॉपर क्रेडिट देना, खाली लिखना नहीं है, प्रॉपर वे में साइटेशन करना है, और ये बहुत ही टीडियस जॉब है। कहाँ फुल स्टॉप डालना है, कहाँ सेमीकोलन डालना है, कहाँ डबल इन्वर्टेड कॉमा डालना है, बहुत ही टीडियस प्रोसेस है। In fact, I teach at the school level APS style sheet, and it takes me at least 4 to 5 days to teach them APS style sheet. It's highly technical, but you need to develop that understanding, and that's what I'm telling. If you are from social science background, you just find out your university is following which citation style, और if you are अगर आप कहीं मतलब publications के लिए भेज रहे हो, वो जर्नल कौन सा citation style follow करते हैं, और वो आपको डाउनलोड करना है, अकॉर्डिंगली आपको करना है। अगर आपने प्रॉपर वे में किया है वो सिमिलरिटी चेक में नहीं दिखाएगा। ओके,
सो भीषम जी, आपका उत्तर मिल गया?
जी सर, थैंक यू।
ओके, सो जॉय प्रकाश।
Yes, sir.
Yes. Joy Prakash, please introduce yourself, then you will be asked.
yes,
I'm starting PG from the review data. We find that most of the time plagiarism. Plagiarism checker, suppose in writing the review, sometimes it comes